Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I just want to say out of the gates, luckily, this is not, I repeat, is not a memorial review of Ron Paul's life. Luckily, he is doing well, but if you were watching the program, while I was talking about Scott Atlas and how they're demonizing him in the media and how he said that the Trump vaccine will not be mandatory, and you can't find that video almost anywhere. No one's reported on it in the mainstream media. At the same time, Andrew Cuomo is saying basically they're going to ban Trump's vaccine and make their vaccine mandatory, have 40 million doses. He praised China yesterday. You'd think that was jaw-dropping. I looked over in the comments section, and somebody said that Ron Paul had had a stroke on air. And immediately I went over, I started looking it up. We ended up playing the video in real time. I had not seen it before that. And my heart was in my gut. I didn't really know what to do with the rest of the show. I kind of just signed off. And luckily since then, it's reported that he was just taken in for precautionary measures. They're not even saying it's a stroke, although it looks like at least a mild one. The man's 85 years old, and he's looking good. But when I thought about it afterwards, I'm like, man, this guy has done so much. Who else has he affected so much for the better part of 15 years now? And I couldn't have thought of anybody better than Dan Dix to discuss this with me, because I know that he's had a huge influence on you. You were around way before the Ron Paul revolution. You saw it take place in real time, as I did. You were a big part of it over in your neck of the woods, even outside of the United States. And really the birthing, at least, Dan, of people looking at personal freedoms, rugged individualism again, and getting out of this authoritarian collectivist mindset where everything's for the good of the people, and if you've got to sacrifice your liberties for that, so be it. He went so against the grain. So, just to kind of begin, Dan, obviously you've done revolutionary work, but talk about how much Ron Paul has influenced you.
Oh my God, he's been a massive influence on me, not just me, as you said, millions of people, maybe even hundreds of millions of people. I mean, he's an absolute legend. And as you said, I've been watching these cycles over and over again. And when he came onto the scene, I knew there was something different about this one. Whether it was his stance on taxes or foreign policy or religious freedoms or free speech, you name it, he has always been consistent and completely on point. I've always found that everything he said is pretty much how I see things as well. And he's been like that all across the board. So in my experience of watching politicians, he's the most genuine one. He's the most honest one. He's the most real one I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And I think he's inspired more people than anyone in the entire 20th century. He single-handedly brought the ideas of liberty and freedoms to the minds of millions, possibly hundreds of millions of people. I mean, you remember the End the Fed campaign that he was championing back then? I mean, talk about hacking at the root of the problem. This man is an absolute thorn in the side of the powers that ought not to be, and he was hacking at the root of the problem way back then, and he's always stayed true to his beliefs. You can track him back to when he first entered office in 1976. He's had the same beliefs then that he does today. And that's why I like him so much. I mean, you can just sense when somebody's real and is being their true, honest, genuine self. And he is absolutely that. And just a great, great person to be around.
Absolutely, 100%. You nailed it on the head. Now, one of the things that Ron Paul was so vocal about, again, from his very beginnings in government, right, was personal privacy. And before we get into basically, I'm going to talk about the first time I learned about him. I'm going to say, wow, this is something different. I'm going to talk about how really he was the blueprint for the same demonization we're seeing. You're a racist if you like Ron Paul. We're seeing that amplified 1,000 times, but back in the day when they were saying Paul-tards and racist, it was people like Sean Hannity echoing that. Oh, how they've come around in the last 15 years. But again, as a privacy advocate and, somebody who's been banned off of this platform. By the way, we got kicked off of YouTube, it seemed, for about 90 seconds during that. Luckily, we are triple streaming. It's very odd. YouTube's just been randomly kicking me off. for some reason. No bandwidth issues. It's really weird that the stream's going through, but you have this new product out there, which is a Faraday cage, right? Which is the ultimate source of privacy and freedom in this digital world, if you want to get away, at least for a moment, from this track trace database society. And it also funds you. I want you to talk about that really quickly. I've got a link down in the description below for mine, but pressfortruth.ca, you can go over there and you can find it there as well. I encourage you to do either. Look, I'm here to support Dan and get this thing going because, again, our liberties are being stripped. Our privacy is just gone. I mean, you saw that new Amazon drone. Just put a drone in your home now. And, you know, the other thing is these displays right here, right now there's a little dot. Guess what? That dot's gone. The first phones with in-house displays are there, which means any screen, and all these screens will have cameras staring back at you. You know, the Orwellian nightmare has come true with the telescreens now, Dan. I mean, full force, everywhere you go, Minority Report style, where small cameras could be placed anywhere and everywhere and you wouldn't know about it. Talk about, you know, this Faraday cage, why it's important, why independent media is important, why independent voices are important, and how people can support it.
Sure. Well, Jason, we're living in a time right now that you and I have been warning about for well over a decade. And that is this Big Brother Orwellian nightmare that is really encroaching on our privacy rights and our individual freedoms and liberties. So over the past couple of months, I've seen where this is going in terms of the contact tracing and Big Brother utilizing COVID-19 84. So for the past couple of months, I've been developing this custom-made PFT privacy protector. It's a Faraday cage for your phone, as you said. This is it right here. It's a nice, sleek little design. What you do is you slip your cell phone right into there, and just like that, you disappear from off of the radar. You are no longer able to be tracked or traced or database. This blocks out all incoming and outgoing waves, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS tracking capabilities, you name it. You disappear from the radar. So, for example, if you want to go from A to B to C, but you don't want the government or whoever else knowing that you went to B for whatever reason, what you do is you go ahead and you pop your phone into the PFT privacy protector. Obviously, when you pull it back out, bloop, your red dot appears back on the NSA's radar there, and you're back on the screen. But for that time being, when you're in the pouch, you are protected. And this is something that I think is going to be important moving forward, Jason, especially as we're hearing more and more of this second wave. You know, Bill Gates calls it Pandemic 2. And I am seeing incremental moves towards making contact tracing apps mandatory. We've seen it in India. We've seen it in the United States in certain schools as well. So knowing that they do these things incrementally, it's a no-brainer that this is going to be something we're going to have to deal with very soon. Apple and Google have already announced that they're going to incorporate it into the operating system. So you won't even have to download an app anymore. So it's coming. The mandatory contact tracing is coming. So we're forward thinking here by developing this particular product. Now it's an ambitious project that we've launched. We need to pre-sell 5,000 of these units in order to do the first print run. But I've got you on board. I've got Josh Sigurdson on board. I've got Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson on board. I've got there's a few other people who are going to be helping us sell these. And as soon as we hit that number, we can send them all out. So it's a win-win situation for you, the viewers who are watching this right now. You get an excellent product, and it's win-win for the alternative media, where it's going to help fund our efforts moving forward. So that's something I've been excited about that I've been working on for the last few months, and I'm really, really glad to have you involved, Jason.
Well, again, folks, I think it's really understand this is a pre-order and it won't happen without you guys. So either go to pressfortruth.ca right now and you'll find it on the splash page. You can't miss it. Support Dan Dix, or there is a link down below. Now, I want to get to the man, the myth, the legend, Ron Paul, because I'm going to tell you and I'm 99.99% sure this is the first time I saw him. Okay? Now, any way you slice it, Alex Jones is the guy that brought me Ron Paul. You know, say what you want about him, and believe me, I have. But the bottom line is that, again, he really helped the exposure of Ron Paul outside of Texas, because the mainstream certainly wasn't covering him. It was almost like he was this unicorn, if you will. You know, something you would not ever see and be like, whoa, what is this? So I'm almost 100% sure my first viewing of Ron Paul was that he just had a very bit role that was put into 9/11, The Road to Tyranny. And I remember seeing congressmen from Texas saying these things about personal liberty and government overreach. And I'm just like, wow, this is really interesting. You know, gave gravitas and validity to Ron Paul, who later, back in 2007, I would interview during that very, very active primary season, really when politics, in my opinion, heated up to a different level and began that partisan divide. It was really, you know, it's really been weird to see. What's your first experience that you can remember of being exposed to Ron Paul?
I'm in the same boat as you. It was Alex Jones films, way back in the day. That's the first time I came across anything from him. And from the moment I saw anything from him, right away I liked him. And I was an ingredient. I couldn't not be, because everything he said was exactly the same way I felt about certain positions. It didn't matter what the particular topic was, abortion or immigration or privacy or you name it. Every time he had a statement to make on those things, I thought to myself, my God, he nailed it. I mean, this guy's bang on. Now, you talk about Alex Jones, and it's interesting how he did promote Ron Paul. And back in the day, we had that End the Fed campaign that was growing a lot of momentum. Mm-hmm. And then he started championing for Donald Trump, and Trump kind of rode in on that freedom, liberty ticket, I should say. And I think a lot of the people under Ron Paul who used to champion for End the Fed are now believing in Trump so much that they may even take the vaccine that Trump is now pushing. So it's kind of sad to see where that momentum and movement have shifted to. And when you think about it, Jason, Dr. Ron Paul, the first thing he ever did when he got into Congress, when he was a senator, I believe it was in 1976, that's when the swine flu epidemic was going on. The first thing that he had to vote on was a vaccination bill, and he voted against it. Only 2 people voted against it, him and another doctor. And that just goes to show you the consistency that he's had all along the board. So he's the kind of man we want to be talking to today in this post-COVID 1984 nightmare. You know, he's been there. He's seen how governments have reacted to these pandemics before. And he's learned the pros and cons for how to deal with these things. And now he's speaking about it openly, saying, look, this is a serious problem. Lockdowns don't make sense. Mandatory mask mandates don't make sense. This is the kind of rationale and thinking we need in today's day and age. So I am so thankful that he tweeted out recently that he is doing okay, Jason. We all put out a call to action for prayers. Look, if you're not a Christian, I ask for people to, whatever you want to do. You want to meditate on good thoughts towards him. You want to ask the universe to show him some favor. Whatever floats your boat. Just we all need to kind of do anything we can so that this man is better. And today we got the good news, Jason. So in my opinion, prayer works, brother.
Yeah, within hours. Within hours of that live stream, and you're right. And positive thinking and prayers and whatever. You know me. I'm not a hardcore religious preacher, but when something like that, you bet, whatever you want to do it. I'm not trying to promote any kind of religion, but I look up to the sky and I think to myself, man, I hope that he makes it. To kind of rewind to a little bit to what you said about the Donald Trump momentum and how it's kind of been obfuscated. And now you talk about the vaccines, and we could talk about war, maybe even favor for Israel, and a lot of these contracts of keeping oil, and a lot of things that Ron Paul stands against, not only because it's his philosophy, but he's spoken about it. I mean, he's actually gone through and after this created kind of like this media forum where, libertarians, constitutionalists, people who question the system can go. And even further than that, his progeny, Rand Paul, although not perfect, in this day and age, he is by far and away one of our best U.S. politicians, one of the people that is challenging Anthony Fauci and his blatant lies. Okay, 100%. Talk about that, how he did not only such a great service in government and the private sector, that his son also became an actual doctor, and then got into the grimiest of grimes as a senator from Kentucky on his first run. And he's held a lot of the ideals that his father has.
Yes, yeah, he has. And that's another testament to how just good of a man this is. That he has someone like that following in his footsteps. And like you said, he has this track record of being a U.S. politician that has done things that others wouldn't dare do. Like, look at the fact that he taught so many people about false flags. Look at his ideas on foreign policy and how the U.S. in particular often goes into certain places under the guise of a humanitarian mission, when really it's all about taking over their dictators and instilling their own form of democracy or what have you. Paul's all over this. He's been teaching people about false flags, about false humanitarian missions that are actually covert takeovers. I mean, this is unbelievable that he's been able to get this message out to the masses. So, this is why we love Ron Paul. I mean, he's been doing this for decades now, consistently speaking out against the problems that we all try to raise awareness about all the time. And, had he have gotten in and became president, I think this world would be a very, very different place today. But, I was saying it back then, if he did, I would probably start to question him, because at this stage in the game, you can't just become president of the United States unless they either allow you to or you've been groomed for it. But at any rate, Ron Paul is the real deal. And thank God he's doing okay today. I can't wait to hear what he has to say next.
And, just to talk about that for a second, about how he is the real deal, and kind of bring it back to Trump. In 2016, Rand Paul was the only guy up there in the primaries that I thought was doing a better job. He was getting a lot less time than Trump because they knew Trump had ratings and they didn't think he had a chance. But I believe he defeated Trump in every one of the debates he was actually president in. The media doesn't talk about that. So again, raising a good son. Now, to the point of Christianity, this man walked the walk. Now, our current president, he loves to invoke God, and you can take that any way you want and whatever. But his record says otherwise. He's got 3 wives. I knew from the beginning the Stormy Daniels scandal wasn't really a scandal other than the fact a dozen other women didn't come forward. Let's be honest. The guy likes women, hits his thing. Ron Paul's the real deal. He's with his wife. He's got a multitude of children. I don't know if he's ever stepped out, but I'm going to tell you right now, I want to believe in my heart of hearts this guy hasn't. He has walked the walk as a Christian family man, and not many people can say that at 85 years young if they can make it that much. So just kind of reflect on that, because I know you're a Christian, and we don't censor things here. And like even now talking about it, guys, I get goosebumps, man. I'm glad to see this guy's alive and that this is the real deal. This is somebody I can actually, I don't have any idols. I don't have, heroes per se. But when I look to people that I want to be more like, that I know I can improve on in the next day and the next day and the next day, that's the guy I look at, Dan.
Yeah, me too, Jason. I've actually known him for a number of years, in the sense that I've met him a number of times. I've had the opportunity to hang out with him. I've had dinner with the man. I've had enough time around him to get the sense of how truly genuine he is, and to see how, just as we say, just how real deal he is. And like you said, this man is not only consistent with his politics, but he's consistent with his spiritual beliefs as well. As you said, you judge a man by his fruits, right? That's what the Bible said. You look at a tree. Well, what is it producing? Is it producing good? A bad tree can't produce good fruit, and a good tree can't produce bad fruit. So you look at what are the fruits of its labor, and you look at Ron Paul. It's all good stuff. He has produced nothing but good positivity for the world in an effort to make the world a better place. I mean, point to one thing he has ever done or said that is negative or bad. There's a lot of people out there who don't like him. There's even people who claim he's this Freemason, and their evidence is nothing short of him just like having a couple of pictures of him doing some odd looking handshakes, maybe giving a speech in front of some Masonic symbols behind him. That's the extent of the evidence that anybody has about anything negative against the man, and it's pretty shoddy evidence, I must say. So there's nothing to it. There's nothing but good emanating from this man, and that's probably because of the fact that he's stayed true to his Christian beliefs.
And just to wrap it up, I want to talk about how he was really a martyr for freedom. He never wavered, and back during that Ron Paul revolution that we lived through in that 2008 election, where you really saw people coming to this guy. And in 2012, he tried again, but they had smeared him so much in the media as a bigot, as a racist, as a white nationalist. It seems like He was literally the blueprint for the play against all their political enemies, whether they were running for office, whether they were in entertainment, or whether they were in the news media, Dan. And now that's even been extended to anybody out there who might not want to wear a mask. You're now associated with white supremacism or your right wing, or I mean, it's there. You're seeing people say it. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, to say he was over the target is an understatement.
Well, there's so many avenues that we could look to prove that he pioneered in this in the space of freedom and liberty, and that's a good example. He is absolutely a pioneer when it comes to dealing with the left, when it comes to dealing with people making up lies about him and things like that. And he showed us how to deal with that with grace and with respect and humility and with just a sense of goodness. You know, he never got negative against these people who were against him. He just pointed out how silly it all was, you know, and what a great example that is. You know, he's just so mild-mannered and rational and calm. And I think that's somebody that anybody can look up to. Just like you, Jason, I found it hard to watch the footage of him basically suffering a stroke or some sort of medical condition. It was hard for me to watch. I felt like I was watching my own dad have a stroke because I've come to look up to the man that much. And I really hope if people are like, wow, you guys are putting a lot into this guy, maybe you should look into him more. Look into the things that he said. Look up a topic that you're interested in and find out what did Ron Paul have to say about that. And I quite honestly think you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
I'll go one further. For all you people that claim to, you know, want to know your stuff and you're a big researcher, it's real simple. The C-SPAN archive is online. You put Ron Paul in quotes, you're probably going to get 500 to 1,000 different videos over decades. And you can see from day one to the last day they covered him that he was the real deal and he stood for what he believed and he didn't waver and he was anti-war and he was pro-freedom. I can't say enough about him. Dan Dix, you're pro-freedom. You've been banned from YouTube. You've got an alternate channel I'm going to tell people about, which is Dan Dix instead of Press for Truth. You're on all these different platforms, which I want you to tell my audience about. But you can also follow him, guys, over at Dan Dix PFT and, of course, at Press for Truth for the actual Twitter for the news organization. It's pressfortruth.ca. Remember about the Faraday cage. So tell people where else and how else they can support you.
Yeah, I am putting videos on YouTube still on the Dan Dix channel, but it's only through a glitch that I have access to it. I created it back in 2013. I've never used it until now. So I don't know the email or password that I used to create it. I have no way to sign into it. I literally have to send videos via AirDrop to my phone so I can upload videos from my phone to it. So anyways, it's not going to be around long. So I'll utilize it for now until they figure out what's going on. But in the meantime, people should be subscribing to me on all the other platforms anyways. BitChute, Minds, Float. I put all the links to all the in the description of all my videos to all the new platforms that I'm on. It's basically at Press for Truth for all of them. So just check those out, Jason, man. That's where I've been on lately. And I'm kind of navigating this new space myself. I mean, this is new territory that I don't want to say pioneering. There's a lot of who came before me who were taken down as well. But I'm navigating this new space of the post-censorship world, and I'm coming out okay. You know, I'm figuring out how to make this work, and just throwing that out there that there's hope on the other side when it comes to censorship. So you got to get on BitChute, you got to get in Minds, you got to get in Float. And all the other great ones that I list in the description of all my videos.
All right, Dan, thanks for joining me. And again, guys, the Faraday cage does not happen without you. You can go to pressfortruth.ca or the link is down below right now. Dan, we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thanks so much, Jason. Keep up the great work, man. Peace.
Thank you. Dan Dix, everybody. He does it so well, and it shows you, anybody can be censored. Dan is, again, one of those mild-mannered journalists. He's not in your face. He's coming at you with facts. You don't have to agree with him all the time. But I'm certain when you disagree with him, you're not going to get into fisticuffs. You know what I'm saying? That's not what's going to happen. So, guys, again, the Faraday cage is down below. You can click that link, support me and Dan. You can go to the other one. I just want it to get done for him. That's why we're helping out with that one. This is how I'm doing it. $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. I just got a rather large $1,300 bill for my U-Haul, but that's okay. That's okay, baby. We got to do it. We got to get out of New York State, where Cuomo's talking about 40 million vaccinations in the first COVID-free, fully vaccinated state. He says, fully vaccinated state. I'm glad I'm getting out, at least now, when I am. It's so important. The documentary films are Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, In New World Order, Defined, and Shade, the motion picture. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. And guys, when I get there, and it's coming up so soon. When I get to Iowa, folks, this is it. I am going to be doing Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., 1 p.m., every day, free over here. So go make the free Rockfin account now. That's where you'll be able to find me and interact. I'm going to try to do phone calls. I'm going to try to do a lot. All right, we'll see what we can do. And then I'll cut it up and I'll put some stuff on YouTube. But the whole thing, it's the Jimmy Dore model. And then I'll make it premium after it airs live. So if you catch it live, it's free. If not, you get the whole thing premium after the fact. Couldn't do it without your support. So guys, I love you so much. And keep Ron Paul and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Because I meant every word I said about him. And I know Dan did too. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there that love him as well. Guys, I love you. And I'll see you on the flip side.